this music turned off. Let's go. Let's go. Welcome, QC. Welcome. Let me exit out of these screens. Guys, we broke the streak. We broke the streak. I called it and we broke it. But it's all good. If you know, you know. Right? But, yo, drop it in where you're calling in from in the chat. Where are we at today, QC? We global. We at Familia. Where's the family at today? Drop it in the chat box where you're tuning in from today. Man, I was vibing with that. I was feeling that. Oh, we got Brazil in the house, Nashville, Denver, Virginia, Chicago, DMV. What is DMV? Are you at the DMV, bro? Illinois in the house, LA, Chirac in the house, Southside Chicago. What up, Pedro? What up, John Rico? What is goody? What is goody? I hope you guys are feeling good. I hope you guys are feeling blessed. I hope you guys are feeling abundant. Guys, we're going to jump in. Virginia's in the house. What up, St. Louis? Yo, guys, how are you guys' bags looking? How are you guys' bags looking? I'm putting away all my distractions here. We're tuning in. We're locking in. Salvador. We're locking in, guys. Get ready. Get those notepads, those pens ready. Guys, again, I encourage questions. I love questions. I welcome questions. Sometimes the sessions go where they go from the live questions we get. We got Chicago in the house. Guys, I'm grateful. I'm excited. I am grateful for everybody who is here today with me. I'm excited to be on here another week, another session. I'm excited to be learning with you guys. I'm excited to be diving into these markets. And again, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Close mouths. Don't get fed. You know, let's jump in though. Let's jump into it, guys. Crypto, gosh, I love it. Like, you can ask Angie. I think I'm getting a little addicted to it. I'll be pulling on Coinbase all the time now. I'm just refreshing these prices. Let's take a look at the whole market. Let's go through what we do. Checking at the global market cap, we're still holding that $1 trillion, guys. If we pull up the global market cap price, you can see we've been kind of stuck here. Whoops. Let me redo that. That's not what I wanted to do. Let me hide these videos. Perfect. So if we look here, let me put them over here. If we look here, let's get in here in the last 2 weeks here. We're kind of stuck. We're kind of stuck after hitting that $1 trillion price tag on a global market cap, right? And we've been trading in that range for basically all of January. Guys, $1 trillion. $1 trillion is a huge whole level, right? It's 1,000 millions. So this $1 trillion market cap, right? We're holding here, looking good for me, in my opinion. I think we have room to grow for this market cap. I see this market becoming trillions and trillions, multiple trillions of dollars, guys. Just to compare, we have to bring up these numbers a lot because, for example, the gold market cap right now, like the market cap of gold, just gold alone, is $10 trillion. The entire crypto market is only worth $1 trillion. Let's look at the New York Stock Exchange market cap. I want to say it's 20, 30 some trillion dollars, 25 trillion. Right? And so I pull up those numbers to show you guys really how small of a market crypto really still is, and compared to markets some of us are more familiar with, like the New York Stock Exchange. So, you know, what's crazy is that crypto is a worldwide market, and there's absolutely no barrier for entry. Comparing that to something like the New York Stock Exchange, which is only for Americans, which has all these regulations, and you're telling me the New York Stock Exchange is still worth 25 times more than crypto? Guys, we have so much room to grow. It's so exciting. It's amazing. I'm grateful to be here. Today is January 20th of 2021. Let's look at the top prices across the board. Bitcoin today trading at 35,000. We've been in that 30 to 40,000 range. We're going to break down the price in just a second here. Ethereum breaking the highs, guys. Ethereum broke the highs. We were trading at $1,300. We're up 20% this week. Right, and if we're looking at Polkadot had a great week, up 60%. Sheesh. Right, and this is getting very normal. It's getting very normal to see these altcoins doing really, really well. Cardano up 20% on the week. Chainlink up 35% on the week. Chainlink also making all-time new highs. Right, Uniswap got up to $9 this week. Aave hit $200. Yo, our altcoin plays, guys. I'm probably do that next week. But our altcoin plays that I called out from the beginning of the year every single one of them is doing fantastic. Every single one of them has rallied those alts are playing really, really well. So that's the general look at the market cap. Let's check out the DeFi world, see what DeFi is doing. Guys, don't sleep on DeFi. Don't sleep on DeFi. It's not in the headlines anymore. But look at what happens to DeFi. More money keeps going into DeFi. We have $25 billion locked in DeFi. Guys, this is becoming the biggest market in the world. I really believe one day DeFi will be the most liquid, the most accessible, and the largest capital market in the world. Why? Because what DeFi does is it allows anybody with a smartphone, anybody with internet, to be able to take a loan, to be able to get interest on their money, to be able to trade derivatives, to be able to do all these things, right? To the whole financial world, the whole financial system as a whole is restricted. You have to use banks, but DeFi is bringing those things to the masses, guys, and that's why I'm so bullish on DeFi and continuing to watch this trend. This is a place you should be checking regularly. DeFi Pulse, guys. As long as this value keeps going into DeFi, it's going to keep growing. We see our top protocols here. Aave already has $3 billion locked in it. We talked about it the other week and how Aave market cap is less than the amount of money in it. It's crazy. So these protocols continue to grow. More money is continue to be poured into these apps, and DeFi is continuing to grow. Our DeFi plays, again, are doing amazing. The sector is going to continue to grow, and in my opinion, this is going to be the biggest pull for people to get involved in cryptocurrency is DeFi. This is just what banks and institutions are going to get involved with, because think about it, if you're a small bank, if you're an institution, if you provide financial services to people and you're not connected to the biggest financial market in the world, you're going to get left behind. And so I think there's a future where most financial services are actually going to be running these kind of DeFi protocols in the background, right? DeFi is going to become the biggest market in the world. You heard it here first. Putting that one on paper. I'm all in. I have my money invested behind that belief as well, guys. DeFi is the biggest use case and is changing absolutely everything happening in crypto right now. And it's crazy to me to consider how new we are into the space with all these projects and these protocols. It's so exciting. It's so exciting, guys. So let's get into some more technicals. Let's look at, I want to pull out something. Let's do Bitcoin real quick before we do Bitcoin dominance. Just run through the Bitcoin technicals. We haven't had a lot of price action since last week, right? This is the week we saw printed while we were waiting on, that was printing last week. During last week's session, we did get the bearish weekly close, right? We were watching for that. That was a key weekly close for us on Bitcoin, guys. As you can see here, this is pretty much the first significant weekly bearish close. These ones here really didn't have much significant, weren't that significant. I mean, seeing how small these bodies were, the volume really wasn't in the sell side here, and we rallied higher immediately after. And so Bitcoin, looking at the week, we did get the bearish close. We are being very hesitant on what's going on right here. And I think Crypto Picasso, guys, if you're sleeping on those sessions, on DCX sessions every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 o'clock Central, you're playing yourself, getting price perspective and price analysis from an 8-year veteran like Crypto Picasso, guys. He was talking about this week in a session. Any financial market, Bitcoin, Forex, regardless of the market, financial markets are set up for the most people to lose, right? And so in order for us to win, we have to identify where the most people are going to lose. When I look at this Bitcoin daily chart right here, I see a bunch of people potentially about to lose. Why? Because what do we see here? We see some very obvious bullish patterns here, right? Everybody could look at this chart. Everyone and their mother is drawing their trend lines here, right? They're drawing their triangles here. And this makes sense for a lot of people, right? When Bitcoin hit the all-time high, everyone started getting invested in. This is, I think, when everyone started messaging me, was the last 4 weeks here, right? And so you have 4 weeks of just Bitcoin exploding and everyone talking about Bitcoin's the next great thing. Wow, yep, the emotional rose cycle, we talked about it last week. But when you have all this excitement, we need a pullback, right? And especially when you have this consolidation happening right here, where it's just, I think, honestly, debating people to get in at this point, right? Long-term, guys, long-term, I have to make this disclaimer. Long-term, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. 2021 is going to be amazing. Crypto is going to be going up as a whole. But I'm very wary right now with current crypto price action. With Bitcoin forming this wedge right here, right? Giving all the noobs this chance to think, oh, look at this trend that's going to go up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin take some of this liquidity here in the next day or week or two, right? Again, watching this weekly close here, going to be huge, 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 huge. But yeah, look out for that, guys. Look out for that last daily spike. The 30,000 level for me is still the key level. Why? That's the 1.168 retracement level. Again, Crypto Picasso is a G. Tune into his sessions, right? If you knew, you know. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this because I know a lot of people already watch those. For the sake of those guys, 30,000 is that level we're watching. We're watching for more spikes into that range, guys. And that's about what we're going to do in the Bitcoin analysis for you guys. We're keeping this on a long time frame, but be careful, guys. I'm still averaging in. Be careful. Bitcoin looks like it wants to shake the market real quick, and that's what it's going to do. That's what it likes to do, right? If we go back in the past and we look at what happened in the past on these previous rallies, you know, Bitcoin, what it really wants to do is it wants to shake you out. it can't allow for everybody to win, unfortunately, right? And so we look at 2017 and we look at how price grew in 2017. This pattern right here is very, very familiar. I'm looking at like what happened right here as a big indication, right? The first time we run off, price had a little pullback here, but then we had, you know, your little wedge forming here. And look what happened is that the price took out here and really probably shook out a lot of weak hands that might have bought here, 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 and here, and here that were excited about it. You know, Bitcoin breaking the highs, they got in, they got shaken out before price run higher. So definitely looking for some manipulation. I'm not completely sold that Bitcoin's going to rally to another new high yet. To me, it looks like we need to shake out some weaker players in the market first before Bitcoin's going to make a run. But that being said, you know, that still gives us a great ability to profit from this market. Why? Because if you go on coinmarketcap.com, we are not just limited to trading Bitcoin. There are many other cryptocurrencies we can trade in, right? And so what I want to pull up to you guys is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is the percentage of the total market that Bitcoin takes up. Right now, Bitcoin dominance is at 65%, right? We hit an all-time high about at the beginning, at the end of the year, right at the beginning of the new year, December 28th. You can see we hit the all-time high here, recently local all-time high of 73% for Bitcoin dominance, right? And if we look at the Bitcoin chart, that's completely correlates with Bitcoin making a new high, right? And we've kind of stalled since. And so when Bitcoin makes a new high, you know, and then it has its inevitable pullback, what happens to the capital in the market? Well, as you can see here, this is a chart of Bitcoin's dominance and Bitcoin's dominance of the market. Bitcoin dominance is going down right now because the capital is leaving Bitcoin looking for other plays in the market to continue to make gains, right? This is what's called an altcoin season, right? When Bitcoin cools off and investors are taking their profits and taking their gains from Bitcoin, what they usually do is they move them into altcoins. More savvy crypto investors, right? They will move their positions into altcoins. And what you will see is you will see Bitcoin lose dominance. And what that really means is the market cap is going elsewhere. Where's it going? Well, it's going to be going into alternative coins like Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, right? So this right now is something I've had my eyes on, for a few weeks. We've been talking about this. When we got that initial break of structure, I first posted this chart right here talking about altcoins rallying. This was the 8th of January. Let's go look at some of our favorite altcoins because as we see here on the 8th of January, Bitcoin dominance has been falling ever since, and this is very, very bearish. I do expect this to continue. Let's pull it right back out here before we look at those alts. I do expect Bitcoin to continue bearish, getting all the way back down to potentially these 50 levels, even going beneath 50%, which signals what? It signals a lot of money to be flowing into altcoins and a lot of altcoins to rally. This is an alt season, guys. And so let's go back to SS and let's go look where these altcoins were, what they've done since this time period of January 4th to January 8th. Let's go look at Ethereum. January 8th, where were we in Ethereum? We were right here, right? And see how we've rallied higher? There's no 100% correlation in any market in any two assets, right? But this Bitcoin dominance, as we can see here, these altcoins have all done what? Bitcoin is pulling back, but the altcoins are doing what? They're making all-time highs. Chainlink, one of our favorite plays, Chainlink, broke the all-time high at $20, is at 21, right? Cardano, also climbing higher. Ethereum climbing higher, breaking all-time highs, previous all-time highs at $14. DOT, USD, what is DOT doing? DOT is climbing as well since the 8th of January, right? At that same time. XLM, what is XLM doing? Since that 4th, 8th of January, climbing. And so we see the majority of these altcoins climbing when Bitcoin dominance is falling. And this is something that this is very well correlated. Bitcoin dominance is a huge indicator for altcoin season, guys. And so I'd be remiss. I wanted to take some time to go over these charts to remind you guys to show what I'm seeing long-term trends, guys. Bitcoin dominance. Like I said, I have targets of Bitcoin dominance coming all the way back into this 50 range. And in the meantime, I'm really looking at these altcoins. Let's go over. Let's quick scan at some of our favorite DeFi plays, how they're doing. Right, Aave doing amazing, hitting that $200 mark this last week since we got on the call, guys. I took some profits. I took about 15% off the top of my Aave position, looking to get back in here at 125 heavily, but we'll be continuing to dollar cost average. Uniswap approach, I hit our target at $10. I also took a little bit of Uniswap off the table, guys. Do not forget to take profits. You guys are right. Remember why you're buying these altcoins. I'm buying altcoins to get more Bitcoin. Right, I do believe in some of these projects and holding them for a long term, but when they hit $10, right, we know how to trade. They're going to come back. I'm looking for Aave to come back to $5. I mean Uniswap, excuse me. Looking for Uniswap to come back to $5. But my previous, when I made an altcoin prediction video, I believe at the end of December, we're seeing a lot of those predictions hit. It's been a great season, guys. Drop a 4 in the chat. Drop a 4 in the chat if you guys are catching profits on your altcoin bags, because like, I honestly don't know how you're not. Like, every single one has been going up. And so it's amazing to see these coins hitting our targets. I'm still waiting for synthetics to make that last push up before I take my first profits on synthetics at 20. Yearn Finance is the one project that really hasn't exploded since we called it out. We're still sitting at, some nice gains here from 20,000 to 30, 50% gains. Ren hitting all-time highs. And guys, you see is I do think these rallies are going to continue and extend a little bit further until Bitcoin is ready to make its next move, right? And so altcoin plays are looking good. I don't know where the chat is. I don't know if y'all in profits or what. Oh yeah, I have profits. Let's go. I love it. I love it. I appreciate you guys. And so I didn't want to leave out our weekly recap of the market, our weekly technicals, guys. That's what I see coming forward to sum it up again. I see Bitcoin dominance continuing to fall. I see. Oh, I almost forgot. I see Bitcoin dominance continue to fall. And guys, if you've never looked at these charts, you need to start looking at these charts, especially if you're into altcoins. Look at a chart like Ethereum, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. How bullish does this look, right? You've gotten your accumulation, you've made a new higher high, you got your higher low, and we've just rallied since. And this key level here, there's not any resistance past that. It's uncharted territory up past there. So Ethereum looks like it could rally. And I'm looking for it, honestly, to make a new high. I'm looking for Ethereum to make a new high, getting to the point where one Ethereum is worth potentially 0.15 Bitcoin, right? That's a 5x from where it's at right now of Ethereum against Bitcoin, meaning your Bitcoin is better off sitting, your money, your dollars are better off sitting in Ethereum, because Ethereum will grow, in my opinion, by this technical analysis, 5 times more valuable than Bitcoin over the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months, right? And you look at Cardano against Bitcoin. Look at how beautiful that chart looks. We just got that breakout of these levels. Cardano looks primed to rally against Bitcoin. Link made a bounce. It's been bullish. Uniswap as well, looking like we're getting that ICO reversal pattern. And Aave as well, my favorite altcoins against Bitcoin. All look very, very, very bullish, right? Which means that it is more advantageous to hold these altcoins than Bitcoins, because they will outperform Bitcoin, right? All of these coins are going to outperform the dollar, but some of these coins will outperform Bitcoin. Guys, I'm still majority in Bitcoin, still over 50% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. I'm not selling the Bitcoin to go on these altcoins, but I am accumulating altcoin positions to eventually convert those altcoin positions to get more Bitcoin. That's how you make more Bitcoin than just your Bitcoin appreciating, is by buying altcoins that appreciate against Bitcoin, and you sell them back into Bitcoin. Right? And so there's so much opportunity. Altcoins, again, are primed. Do your own research, guys. You guys already know. If you don't know, I have a YouTube video on my channel about my favorite altcoin projects, the top 5. I actually gave 7 altcoins. But without further ado, I'm going to get into the main topic I want to talk about this week, because I think this is some information that a lot of people might not have. And I think this information really will actually change the way you look at money as a whole, and will really change the way you look at crypto. I think this is a huge thing that, if you know, you already know what I'm about to talk about. But if you don't, this might finally unlock that aha moment of like, wow, that is why we need crypto. That is why these people are so crazy about this stuff. Because what I want to talk about tonight, guys, I want to talk about how our monetary system works. I want to talk about how the US dollar works. I want to talk about how money works in our country, how it's made, who controls it, why it's valuable, why it loses its value. And as you can see right here, the title of this presentation is Hidden in Plain Sight. And this is the value of a $1 Federal Reserve note. Notice it says Federal Reserve note. You're going to learn the difference between a dollar and a Federal Reserve note today. But this is the value of a $1 Federal Reserve note since 1913, since the inception of something called the Federal Reserve. Who here has seen a graph like this before? Drop a two. Drop a two in the chat if you've seen a graph like this before. And you're maybe wondering like, what is this? Why does this happen? Why does the dollar always lose value? What's going on? And monetary policy is some of those things. I think it's like, it sounds boring. It sounds not exciting. It's like the Federal Reserve and dollar and inflation, all this shit. Honestly, this is some of the most important information for you guys to understand and really wrap your heads around. It is a lot. It's heavy. We're going to get into it. I'm going to do my best to break it down as simply as possible. It took me some time to wrap my head around really how this all works, and why the hell is our dollar always losing so much value year after year. Well, let's get into it. First things first, though, before we're talking about money, right? We're talking about currency. We're talking about wealth. We have to, I think, come up with a good definition of what wealth is to us, what money really means, and true wealth is not something that can be held, guys. It's not made by man. True wealth is your time and your freedom, and so money and currency are simply tools that we've created to store economic energy, to store our time, right? And then we can use them to spend them, and you can use them to earn them, right? And so the problem is that we've been convinced and tricked into believing that our wealth comes from money and currency, right? We've been tricked to think that the amount of dollars in your bank account determines the amount of wealth that you have. And this is that concept where, I think the man who is homeless and who has like every moment to himself and he just enjoys life and he's laughing and having all of the time of his life, right? And he generally enjoys himself. Some people might not be in that situation or homeless. Some people could be really bad situation, but I'm saying in the aspect of someone who has all time and freedom to enjoy their life versus the guy who's got $100,000 in the bank, but not a single minute of his day is his. Who's really wealthy? Who's actually wealthy? I want you to think about that, because wealth is not just money. And so I don't want you guys to become a slave to a piece of paper with no real value, because the real value of our life is time. It's not fucking money. And I'm going to teach you exactly why the system of money that we have is a complete scam. Because we have to define what money is. And we're going to get deep into this, guys. We're going to really deep into what this stuff is. Money is a technology, guys. It's an invention that has been helped society grow and scale, right? And so there's been a history of money. In the beginning of money, people bartered. Anything could be money. I'm a farmer. I got metal. You're a farmer. You have cows, right? We could trade. I'll trade you this sword for your cow. But thing with trading and bartering, well, what if you only want to give me half a cow for the sword? It doesn't really work. And so eventually money transformed into using things like commodities and precious metals, salt or silver or gold or platinum. We started to create these things. Okay, this is a uniform system of money now, so we don't have to trade a half a cow for a silver, so we have numbers, right? And these metals and commodities eventually went from metals, and we realized, damn, if I want to buy a house with gold, that's freaking heavy. Transporting all this gold. So they turned it into paper, and these paper receipts that were backed up by gold, right? And then paper went from paper to checks. Imagine the first time someone got a check. Someone went to pay for the restaurant bill and they start writing out their money. And some old person's like, yo, that's not money. Where's your cash? And they're like, no, this is the new money. I'm writing a check, right? And then checks eventually turned to plastic. We turned plastic cards, right? And imagine the first time someone swiped a card. Someone's like, that's not money. Where's your money? Oh, it's on this card. What? There's no check. There's no paper. There's no dollar. What? And so, guys, every time we transition from a new form of money, there's doubt. There's skepticism. There's people who are like, that's not money. There's people who are held back, right? But money is simply a technology. And for me, this outlook and this way of looking at money changed my perspective, because I realized money is just a technology, and that money's changed lots of times over history. And currently, we're witnessing the next evolution of money. We're witnessing the next iteration of money. We're just seeing digital money. Cryptocurrency, it's natural. It's an evolution. Why the hell don't you go to McDonald's and pay for for your McDouble with a piece of gold? Oh, let me pound off 0.2 grams of gold. Oh shit, not enough. Because it's old, it's antiquated. It doesn't work as well. We transformed, we've evolved. Cryptocurrency is no different. It's the next evolution of money. It's simply better. But before we even get into cryptocurrency and into the dollar, we have to further this understanding and fundamentals of money and wealth and understand the difference between money and currency. Does anybody know, before I pull up the slide, does anybody know the difference between money and inflation? There's some people that do. And if you do, that's cool. What's the difference between money and currency? Sorry, not money and inflation, money and currency. What is the difference between money and currency? There's one key factor, right? Because they're very, very similar. Drum roll, ain't nobody know. We got intrinsic value. Money has intrinsic value. Yes, yes, money can store value, guys. And so the properties of money versus currency, they are essentially the same. At one point in my life, I thought they were the same. This is one of my biggest breakthroughs ever actually was understanding the difference between the two, because both money and currency are a medium of exchange. They're portable. They're unit of accounts. You can count them 1, 2, 3, how many, 20, 50, 100. They're durable, right? They're not going to dissolve, turn into nothing. They're divisible, right? They're fungible. My $1 is the same as your $1. But the biggest difference between the money and currency is that money stores value. Money is money. It stores value. Currency does not store value. Currency is more of a medium of exchange. Currency's value changes. Why does that work? Why does money store value and currency doesn't? Well, store value, economics 101. If something is a very limited supply, if there's not a lot of it, but there's a great demand for it, it holds value. Real estate, land will always hold value. There is only so much land in the world. People, the demand for land is going to continue to grow. Yet the finite resource that we have, land, limited. Therefore, it stores value because no one can make more. Its supply is fixed. It will always hold value because we know we need it and we know there's only so much of it. Same with gold, right? Versus something that is not valuable, like US dollars, fiat currencies, which I'm going to explain a little bit further, because they're not valuable because the amount of supply of this currency can change. They can change it at any time. And so money supply is important because it gives you what? It gives you purchasing power. Owning a home, owning real estate, owning a finite asset, it will appreciate over time because the demand will go up from it while the supply will stay the same, which will keep your purchasing power in your asset, right? And so I want to talk about fiat currency. What is fiat currency? Fiat, literally by definition, is a formal authorization or proposition. It is a decree. It is simply an authority telling you, this is your money. That's fiat. What is the dollar backed by, guys? The answer is nothing. The answer is nothing. It's only backed by the currency. It's only backed by, not the currency, by the confidence that we have in it, right? These forms of money are only money because the government tells you they are. Because nobody else, because you or me or Brady or John, if we ever decide to make money, that's counterfeiting. If we make money, that's counterfeiting. But if the government makes it, oh, that's money. And that's what fiat is. This is the systems that we've lived in. This is what money has been our entire lives. Governments, kings, queens, and banks are the only people that have ever had the power to control and create money. That is fiat currency. Who creates it, right? I just told you. Governments, kings, queens, banks. Guys, did you know? Did you know this is without exception? This is without an exception. This is the history of fiat currency. Every single fiat currency is gone to zero. Every single one. And there's not a single fiat currency that still holds value today from the past. The only ones that hold value today are the ones that are about to lose all their value. How come we don't use the Roman currency anymore? How come we don't use Deutsche Marks anymore? Oh, wait. They lost all their value. Oh, wait. That's actually how those empires fell. Every single fiat currency goes to zero. Every single one. And so now we're talking about our fiat currency. We're talking about the current standard. We're talking about why things have value, why they don't. We have to understand the history of the dollar. understand where it came from and how it started. You know, and the founding fathers actually, it's funny. They understood that what real money was. They even put it in the Constitution that money should only be gold and silver. And it's rather ironic. Um, do you remember why we were fought for our independence, or at least what we were told in school? You know, it had to do with the fact that we don't want to pay taxes to this illegal bank and institution of, like, you know, the government of England. We weren't cool with that system, so we made our own, right? And then it's funny because not too long after 1776, obviously we declared independence, but something happened in 1913 that really pretty much changed every single person's life, probably more than you all know. Probably the most impactful thing that ever happened to our country in the last 100 years, in my opinion. Arguably, the day that our country was sold, the day that our democracy vanished, because the implications of that, now we're seeing it today. I'm not getting into current events, but the dollar rules all, and this is why. This is where it all started. 1913, guys. The Federal Reserve Act was passed on December 23rd, 1913. December 23rd. That's 2 days before Christmas. Yes, Congress is not in session during that time, but yes, they still passed that bill. Um, so essentially, it was passed under the American public's, under their nose, right? No one, it wasn't something widely publicized, but yes, it was enacted in 1913. The Federal Reserve Act. What did that do? The Federal Reserve Act created the Federal Reserve to act as the central bank of the United States of America. This is also the same year that federal taxes were ratified. This is the same year that the IRS was created. So this year, 1913, we decided to create the Federal Reserve as our central bank. Okay, great. You're like, well, what's the problem with that? The problem is the Federal Reserve is not federal. You can look it up in the phone book. It's in, I believe it's in the yellow pages, not in the white pages, or however that works, where the government things are stored. It's not there. The Federal Reserve is listed right next to the Federal Express because it's a private company. The Federal Reserve is not a part of our government. There is no part of our government that has jurisdiction or the ability to rule over it. The Federal Reserve is a private company with shareholders that earn a profit. And in 1913, they were put in power as a central bank of our government, of our economy. And so it's not like that day everything changed. You know, change happens gradually. You know, and things have changed since then. Because before this date, the U.S. dollar was actually backed by silver. The U.S. dollar was actually a sound monetary. It was a sound money. It was hard money. But 1933, you know, was when it essentially the process initially started of abandoning the gold standard. Basically, they created an executive order. I think it was FDR. I'm not good with my presidents. Don't, I just threw that on my head. But whoever it was, they mandated that you had to exchange your gold. They literally made an executive order that you had to exchange in your gold. Continuing on this policy of taking the dollar off of gold, off of the sound policy, you know, creating a free floating dollar. Bretton Woods happened in 1944, right? And that the Bretton Woods Agreement, right? The Bretton Woods Agreement was from 1944 to 1971. This created a system of fixed exchange rates with the U.S. dollars in international currency. This created the INMF, right? And so this basically is when the dollar became the big boy, right? And then in 1971, our man Richard Nixon completely removed us from the gold standard. This was the end of Bretton Woods. This was the end of your ability to go to your bank and actually exchange your dollar for gold. And this also created free floating currency exchange rates, which is actually something we all benefit from today, creating the Forex market, creating these ability for these currencies to grow because there's nothing backing them anymore. 1971 was the last day that the dollar was backed by anything legitimate, right? It was the last year. And you can see right here what a dollar used to look like before that day and, you know, what it looks like now. So, you know, previously a US dollar looked like this. This was an actual silver certificate. It said right here, $1 silver payable to the bearer of demand, you know, your little stamp of approval here, you know, and it's switched now to a Federal Reserve. Now it's a Federal Reserve note. It says $1, trust you, right? And it says here, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. And so at one point in time, the dollar actually was a sound currency, guys. The US dollar at one point was money because it was backed up by gold and silver, right? Those things are hard assets. They have store value, right? Because they're limited in supply. And therefore, something representing them is also hard money. When the dollar was removed from the gold standard, when the dollar was removed from the silver standard, that means there's nothing backing this dollar up. That's the day the dollar went from being money to currency, because now it's completely backed by our confidence in our monetary system alone. And so, do you understand how our monetary system really works? I just give you the history, but you really understand today how dollars are actually created, how dollars are actually issued, because this is probably going to upset you guys. This is the biggest scam in the world. How money is actually created, and this is I got from Mike Maloney. If you know the hidden secrets of money. Mike Maloney, though, and this is really the process in which dollars are created today. Because remember, the summary from before: dollars are no longer backed by gold and silver. We have a private company that controls dollars, and so this is now what I'm about to go over: how they create dollars, how they do it with essentially sleight of hand, and how basically our whole system is a scam. Because again, there's a central bank controlling this. And again, dollars are not backed by anything. They're free-flowing currencies and they can be manipulated at will, right? So this is how the process goes. This is how it works. Step number one, government wants some money, right? What does the government do? They create glorified IOUs, bonds, right? Government issues bonds to pay for public works, right? And when they want to create a stimulus bill, when they want to do this, when they want to do that, they say, hey, we're going to do this bill or this bond, this thing for that. And this is our total debt, right? And this is why our debt continues to go up and up and up, because our government spends more and more and more. Well, where do they get the money, right? Well, what they do is they swap IOUs with the Treasury. The Treasury is where the U.S. Treasury will take these government bonds, and what they do is they sell them to the banks, right? And I want you guys to know, everybody here basically is, if the Federal Reserve is the central bank that controls our entire government, you would think that our government is going to liken themselves up to become friends with the people who create the money so they can get the money for what they need it for. And, there's definitely a buddy-buddy system here going on. Everybody's winning here except who? You and me. And you'll find out why in a second. Because the U.S. Treasury sells the government bonds to the banks, right? So they create the bonds. We need money. They sell that bond to the bank. The banks gives that to the Federal Reserve. They sell it to the Federal Reserve at a profit. Of course, the banks are middlemen in this whole thing. The Federal Reserve then does what? The Federal Reserve doesn't get more gold. They say, hey, U.S. government needs more money. Let's secure more assets to back up this debt that they want to create. No, they literally just print money. The U.S. Federal Reserve literally just creates money. Like I said, if I create money, if you create money, it's counterfeiting. But if the Federal Reserve does it, that's currency. And so literally the Federal Reserve then says, oh, you want $20 trillion? Here you go. We'll make $20 trillion, exchanges it for the bonds. The Federal Reserve then sends it back to the banks. The banks send it to the government, right? And then the debt is held in the Federal Reserve. And guys, this is tricky. It is complicated. These words and terms and processes are designed to confuse you. Because if the whole world understood how this worked, there'd be a revolution tomorrow. Like, that ass. So continuing, now the government has this money. They needed a bond. They needed money. They asked the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve's like, yo, here you go. Here's the money. They just make it. And so the government gets the money, and then they deposit the currency given by the Federal Reserve into the branches of the government. They spend this money that goes on the public promises, works, social programs, war. The government employees, contractors then get this money. The money is now getting into the system. It's getting into the people, into the companies, into the people's hands. What do these people do with their money? Well, they take it to the bank, right? You get your money, you take it to the bank. This is where the process really actually gets pretty fucked up, and things really get kind of sketchy. And it's insane to really think about the amount of deception and fraud happening here, because what the banks are doing with the money that you put in your bank, when you put $1,000 in the bank isn't required to hold $1,000 in your account. We have a system called fractional reserve lending here in the United States, and most central banks around the world use this principle. This states that the banks, like I said, only need to hold 1% of your deposit on hand. Example, 10%. If I give the bank $1,000, they're only, by law, required to hold $100 actually in the bank. The other $900, they can actually do whatever they want. If Johnny Chaos comes to the bank and he needs a loan, they can give out that $900 to him, but that's technically my money. Yeah, but they're allowed to give it to him, because essentially what this does is this is creating money again on thin air. Because this is exactly why if everyone were to go to the banks to withdraw the money from their account, they wouldn't have it. Because banks do not actually hold the amount of money in your account. They do not actually hold the amount of money they say in everyone's account. They don't actually have that. because they're literally creating it. And this is how the process works. This graphic will help you understand it. Example, I go to the bank with $1,000. I put $1,000 in there. They have to reserve 100 by law. The other 900, they can do whatever they want. Let's say they loaned it out to Johnny. Johnny spends it, gives it to Armando. Armando goes back to the bank. He puts that 900 in. They only have to reserve 10%. They can loan out the other hand. And now all of a sudden that loaning money is going up. And you can see here, this process reiterates itself. And initially it started with $1,000 that actually went into the bank that was real money. And now the bank is just creating more money because it's loaning out the money that I gave it, which is mine, but it's able to use it because of the laws that we have, and it's literally creating money out of thin air. Because creating money that's not necessarily is loaning it, getting profit on that from, you see what I'm saying here? And now you start with $1,000 and there's $3,000 in the system, and the bank's only holding 200 of it. Because technically speaking, this $900 isn't his, it's mine. And so all this money getting created is getting created out of thin air, because by law, banks only are required to hold 1% of your deposit. They can literally just make money out of thin air. And so because all of this, what this does, the Federal Reserve prints money. They loan it to our government. Banks are middlemaning it. The government gives it to us. We put it in the banks. The banks are able to manipulate and make more money. What happens? We have so much extra money that we need to do something about that to keep it in balance and check. And so what happens is they're taxed. We work blood, sweat, and tears. Most Americans work blood, sweat, and tears for their dollar bills. And the fact that our government the Federal Reserve prints them, your bank can just create 90% of it out of thin air. And then these people that spend their little time in their life and their energy and their life, they're gonna have to pay taxes on the fact that these other people just made up money, because they just keep making up all this money. It's gonna get out of control, right? And so it's crazy because the IRS, which didn't exist until the Federal Reserve did, there was no federal income tax before this system. And there still is today, and this is a rabbit hole, but there is actually no constitutional law that says taxes are obligatory. Because all you're doing is paying tax on an illegal debt. What happens? You pay the taxes to the Internal Service, to IRS, right? And this is where that creates this illusion that we have a debt sitting. Guys, we're how many $1 trillion in debt? $20 trillion in debt? I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. I'm going savage. I don't give a shit. That's not my debt to pay back. If you understand how the system works, it's all fake. It was all created out of thin air. The whole fucking debt thing is an illusion. It's not real. It actually can't be paid back. How do you pay back a debt that someone created out of thin air? Example, John, you need $5. Okay, I'll just make up $5. I just create $5. Now, John, you have to pay interest on that loan too. There's only $5 in the system. So how do you pay back interest on made up debt? Because if I say he has to pay me $1 in interest, 20% in interest, now he owes me $6. That's our national debt. There's only $5 in the system. You can't actually potentially it's not possible to pay back the principal. It's only possible to pay back the principal, excuse me. It's not possible to pay back the interest. Even if we paid back the entire principal of the national debt right now, the interest would still be there. So what the hell, how does he? It's a fucking scam, guys. It's a fugazi. No one's fixing our debt. No one's solving it. It's insolvable. This whole illusion of us pretending to deal with it is just another political trade to kick the can down another 4 years. And this is the most fucked up part of the whole thing, is that, guys, the Federal Reserve is a private company. They have shareholders. They earn dividends. Who owns the Federal Reserve? Well, shit, if you could give me information like that, you might not be here tomorrow. I'm keeping this PG. I gotta watch what I say. That's going on YouTube. This guys, this is the conglomerate. This is the pyramid of the world, man. Let's get our tinfoil hats out, right? But it's just, you can look this information up, guys. I'm giving it to you as is. You do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Please don't. Go look into it for yourself. The Federal Reserve is not federal, and they make a profit. To sum it up, they loan money to us. We need money. They loan it to us for a profit. We get it. We have to pay taxes on it, the interest on it, and they're profiting on this whole thing. Sum it up. It's a fraud. It's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud, guys. 1913, the Federal Reserve Act. A Creature from Jekyll Island by, what's that guy's name? Someone drop it in the chat for me if you can. I forgot the author's name. That's a book that's all about this. Like I said, if you know, you know. This is something that's like heavy as fuck. It's so heavy when you first learn it. It's a lot. It's hard to wrap your head around sometimes, but once you know, you know. And you know, the whole thing when you realize it, when you really understand, is that you just so a government. If we have a government, right, and we have this money that's in circulation, we have $1 million, right? And if I create $1 million more because I'm the government and I can, what happens to that $1 million? Well, it becomes half as valuable because now there's $1 million more, right? And that is exactly why the money goes down over time, because this government, what are we doing, guys? We print money like crazy. We've printed 26%, 30%, some ridiculous number like that. It kept going up throughout the whole year. I want to say 25, we'll leave it up there. 25% of all US dollars were created last year. Last year. That is why when you create more money, the existing money devalues. And what happens, guys? If only we had examples of this from the past. If only we have history of hyperinflation and what really happens. It's kind of fucked up because this is how you destroy a nation. This is how you destroy an economy. This currency debasement. When you continually debase the currency, nothing good is going to happen. That is why the US dollar is the Titanic. COVID-19 was the iceberg. The ship is sinking. They are printing money like fucking crazy. In fact, 2008 probably was the Titanic. And then we've been crashing ever since. And you can't just keep printing money. Currency debasement always fails. Always, 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 always fails without exception. Examples of currency debasement happening right now. Zimbabwe, they have a $100 trillion bill. Venezuela has lost over 97% of the value of the Bolivar. Argentina, Cyprus. This is happening today all over the world. And this man right here, he said it really well. He said, I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a flying fuck who is on. This is a really X-rated call tonight, but this is serious information. But he doesn't care. He said right here, he's like, I don't care who's placed on the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply, controls the British empire, and I control the British money supply. Because money, if we're playing Monopoly and I'm the bank and you land on Park Place and it costs $400 and I decide I want it and I just print out $3,000, your money, I just buy it because I can make, guys, you see this? This is absolute tyranny. People, you have control of money, you have control of everything. And this is such a powerful quote. I love it. It says, give a man a gun and he can rob a bank. Give a man a bank and he can rob the world. This is the biggest scam, guys. The banks, right? You know, and do you like your bank? Does anybody? You like paying money for your own money? My girlfriend was telling me she's got like at Chase Bank, you have to pay a fee if you withdraw too many times from an account in a month. I have to pay for my own money? Yeah, you tell me I got to go to an ATM. It costs $5 to get my own money? What value? What service? What good has your bank ever done? Or are these just people that got control of money and obviously realize it is control of everything? Like, seriously, what value do banks provide you? But this is why, guys. This is freaking why I'm so passionate and why I love cryptocurrency so much, because, you know, hard versus soft money. Hard money holds value. Hard money is money, right? It holds value. It's got finite supply. Gold, real estate, Bitcoin, hard money. Soft money, currency, dollars. You can make as much as you want. How many dollars are there tomorrow? Who knows? However many they decide. Joe Biden looks like he's going to start running that printing press like crazy. I don't think any of this change is going to stop. The Federal Reserve has continued to say that they're going to print. And in the last, 6-7 months since they've decided to make those statements saying that they're going to print, what's Bitcoin done? It's gone crazy, right? Because, guys, we're part of the biggest financial revolution in history. We have the internet. We have the ability to get this information, to teach it to a large amount of people, to teach people that, the current monetary system that you use, the US dollar, is rigged. It was never set up for you to win. It's set up for rich bankers to print more of it to buy assets and for you to work your ass off for it to pay tax and for you to never get ahead. You can't. It's a rigged game. And so when you learn that, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, shit, well, that's just the way it is. Hell no. What do you mean? No, fuck no. Right? We have the internet. We have the power. We have the ability to communicate. And we have something so magnificent because, you know, when you understand this information, you really understand, yes, of course, cryptocurrencies, crypto assets are the next evolution of money. There is no other way. We've taken the internet and we've built an ecosystem with it. We've built a financial system on it that's completely decentralized. Guys, my cousin's 12 years, like my cousin got into trading when he was 12. He's going on 16 now. You know, that kid's actually accumulated over 6 figures of wealth in the crypto markets. You think he's ever going to put that in a bank? He actually legally can't even own his own bank account. He's got to tell he's 18, right? Why would he? Why would he put that money in the bank and you got fees on it? Like, the same way you and me, you know, if you're a millennial like myself, I was born in the 90s. You ask me what Abraham Lincoln's birthday is, I'm going on Google. The thought in my mind doesn't even exist to go to the library to get information. So the same way the internet changed our ability to access this information is the same way cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies are changing the way future generations will access finance. They won't even think to use the old system of finances of banks, just like we never thought to use the old systems of information storage. They will turn to technology. This is natural evolution. What the internet did to the post office, what crypto is doing to the banks. You know, this system will redefine it. And this isn't a call about why cryptocurrency. This is a call about why not the US dollar, right? And so the properties that crypto has over the dollar, that makes it way better than traditional money. It's scarce. There's only so much Bitcoin, right? It's censorship resistant. You can't stop me from sending my Bitcoin. My Bitcoin is fuck you money. Right? Try sending some US dollars to someone in North Korea. See how that goes. Try sending dollars to someone in Brazil, in Colombia. I have friends there. I've tried, like, and you think, why are all these fees have to wait 3 to 5? Yeah, today still. Guys, not the whole world doesn't have Venmo, right? Argentina has currency controls. You can't, if you're an Argentinian company, you are forced to hold on to Argentinian pesos. You are not allowed to exchange them for other currencies because the government knows Argentinian peso is losing its value. They continue to print it and they don't want you to exit. They can censor you. If you go to Chase tomorrow and they decide that they can censor you. It's not your control. And so Bitcoin actually gives you control and nobody can stop it. It's a free system. It's open. It's free. Anybody can use it and it's borderless. This is an international monetary system. It's the first one of its kind. This is a system of ownership versus debt. US dollars don't represent anything but debt. They're made out of thin air. They're worthless. They're backed nothing by the air that they breathe. And so those little pieces of paper literally say right on them, they are debt. You know, and so when I learned about this, I learned about money. I learned what real money was, that actually holds value, that actually is not going to fuck me my whole life. It changed my view of like money as a whole, cryptocurrency, because I realized, wait, Bitcoin is a system of ownership. I own this coin. This isn't coin created out of debt. This is something I own. And it's mine. And it's censorship resistant and no one can take it from me. And the rules of the system are so beautiful because they're transparent and it's maintained essentially. You can't stop Bitcoin. You can't stop the system. You take me down, there's 50 million other people in this already. You take down these people here. Like, how do you stop something that's decentralized? There's no headquarters. There's no central point of failure. It's a decentralized movement and everything is run transparently and openly. And this is why this will take over. This is why the more people wake up to, wow, fiat government-controlled currencies are fucking rigged and they are a scam. Oh, wait, we got an alternative. We got an option. Cryptocurrency is your first time you've ever had an option. Before Bitcoin, before crypto, so what, you know that the US dollar is inflationary and loses all its value every year. You can buy some stocks and stuff, but your currency, like, this is a huge deal because we've now eliminated the government's control on currency and money, and we put it in the hands of people. And you're going to have government money, so you'll have corporations' money, and now you have people's money. And that is what Bitcoin and crypto is to me, right? Crypto is money of the people. Anybody can use Bitcoin, no matter race, religion, age. No one can stop this. And legitimately, I believe this is the powerful form of liberation and personal freedom ever invented. I think Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the blockchain is the most important invention in human history. Like this will do more good to more people than anything else ever has. Right? This is, I think, a feature, an enhancement of the internet, something that we could never have fathomed creating the internet, creating a global system. And now we can create a global system of money. And so it's so exciting to see what the blockchain is really doing for people, the systems, creating things like DeFi, creating spaces where you can trade contracts, where you can do these things, where you can do them decentrally without an authority, without permission. You know how powerful that is? I think there's 5 billion adults in the world right now. Of the 5 billion adults, did you know that 2 billion adults today do not have a checking account? They do not have access to financial services. They don't have a bank account. These are people, they send money through remittance networks. They get charged 10% fees. Like think about that. 2 billion adults in the world don't have a bank account. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because the banks aren't able to service them? Or do you think that's because the banks don't deem them as profitable customers? It's the latter. Because giving everybody the ability to trade and conduct commerce on a global level in an international free system, that's fucking with a lot of people's pinpoints and bottlenecks of control, including the banks, right? And so this is why the system was laughed at, was ridiculed by big institutions. And now you're seeing, especially with everything happening in the world, you're seeing how many people buying into this and realizing, holy shit, this is the solution. This is my raft out. Like if the US dollar was the Titanic, Bitcoin is the life raft, right? And this is the thing, guys, it's up to us. Anybody has the power to create currency. Anybody has the power to get involved with crypto, to build their own crypto, to do whatever they want, and this really comes down to the network effect. The more people that use crypto and believe it has value, the more it will, right? Literally the day, if everyone stops believing the US dollar has value, it won't have any value anymore. And this is the dopest thing about crypto. It's a free market. You like XRP, good for you. You like Ethereum, you like this coin, you choose whatever you want. And I want to remind you guys, your biggest power, your biggest say, your biggest ability to influence change in the world is where you put your money. It's not voting in an election. It's where you put your money. Guys, this is the freedom. This is really the fight. This is why I'm so passionate about this stuff. This is why I really strive and talk so much about this stuff, is because I really believe understanding this information. I want you to understand monetary policy, because I really believe that leads you to having a free life, getting true wealth, getting your time, getting your life back, getting out of a system that's rigged against you. That's why this information is powerful. That's why I love IM. That's why I love QC. That's why I do this. That's why I share this information, because I literally actually believe this is the biggest power we have to influence change, to really change the world. And so, guys, questions before the YouTube recording. That's going to be it. I love you guys. Peace out. You already know. Short the banks. Buy Bitcoin. Boom. How do I stop recording?